G5Jefftv. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the share button as you come on in. I got two very special guests on the line with me today. First guest, y'all have heard him plenty of times on the channel, manager extraordinaire, manager Jason Phillips. We got Mike Patterson in the building. What's going on, bro?
What's going on, G5? Thank you for having me back once again, man. I feel really at home here.
Oh, man, no problem, no problem. And our second guest, this is going to be a treat because not only is this guy a fighter, but he's a strength and conditioning coach as well. And he was just hired as a strength and conditioning coach for Jason Phillips. We got Coach DMac in the building. What's going on, DMac?
What's going on, G5, man? Appreciate y'all having me.
Oh, man, no problem at all. Now, DMac, for the people that don't know who you are, just introduce yourself to the people and just give the people just a little bit of your background.
All right, well, as G5 said, I'm a fighter. I've been boxing or training in boxing for about 10 years, give or take. Nothing consistent. Been a little more consistent here in the last couple of years. Got thrown off my game a little bit with the passing of my father about a year ago. Recently came into some enlightenment on becoming a personal trainer. Decided to go ahead and get my certification with NASM, which stands for National Academy in Sports Medicine. Got some specialized skills in performance enhancement, nutrition, and corrective exercise. So, I had to learn the game and physical conditioning on my own just because it's a good skill to have. And as a fighter, it's beneficial to me because now I can train myself. I don't have to worry about somebody else training me as far as physical conditioning goes. I had one amateur fight through an MMA promotion called Sparta Combat League out in Colorado. That's the only fight I've had so far. I intend to fight professionally in October of this year. We can find a matchup for me.
Okay.
And from there, I'm about to take over.
What made you want to become just a strength and conditioning coach and just a professional trainer?
Well, what appealed to me is just, I've always been kind of a scientific dude. I've always loved science. I went to school for computer science, and I've recently gotten intrigued by exercise science because as a fighter, as a warrior, why not be a warrior and a scholar and learn how to apply the things for yourself? Right. Instead of me hiring a strength and conditioning coach, I'm investing in my own skill set and my own future. So not only can I now train myself, but I can train others professionally, gain some monetary gain, Also, it just it sets up for when I decide to stop fighting. I already have all my skill sets. I already have all my experience. I open up a gym, and I can teach boxing, and I can do strength and conditioning. I can coach them in nutrition. I can coach them in corrective exercise, make sure they don't have any muscle imbalances. Basically prehab work instead of rehab work. We don't want no injuries, right?
Right.
It's just they're invaluable skills that you hold for the rest of your life. So to me, I think more fighters, more athletes should look more into learning the things that their coaches are showing them and learning the science behind it themselves. It'll further deepen their understanding. You know what I mean?
Right. So I guess it's similar to, you correct me if I'm wrong, I guess it's similar to if somebody wanted to be in the music business. If they go to school, they should basically study to be something like maybe like a music teacher or something like that. So they have their initial plan, then they had a fallback plan, then they had a fallback plan on top of that because they're just gaining skills from every area. Is that basically
that's a great breakdown?
That's the premise.
Yeah,
right
that's
there?
pretty similar. Yeah, that's pretty similar. I mean, you could take like one of my favorite artists in that metaphorical aspect. One of my favorite artists is J. Cole. If you look up his background, he went to school for, I believe, something to do with music and some business, business management or something like that. Something that helped him basically kind of get himself started. He didn't rely on nobody like that.
Right.
He did it all on his own from the get-go. And then, he expanded. He got better.
Now he's producing, he writing.
Yeah.
He rapping. That's a great breakdown. Let's throw some sound effects to that, G5. Throw some sound effects to that.
Sound effects will be crazy. Now, as far as you being a fighter, you say you're going to turn pro. Hopefully you can get a fight in October. What weight class are you looking to fight at?
I mean, technically, my weight range is very highly. I mean, I stand at about 5'11", and walk around at 185. But I fought, like, back when I fought with my amateur, I fought at 147. So I can get down to that weight. Now, don't get me wrong, I ain't just gonna bust out 40 pounds of weight in no 8-week fight camp. That's the unhealthy way to do it. But depending on where I'm walking around at, I fight close to those ranges. Like right now, I could confidently say if they needed somebody in the 150s for October, I could get down to it if I wanted to. I don't have that much body fat to lose. If I lost the body fat, I'd have to sacrifice a little water, maybe a little muscle mass. You only got 4 masses to lose when it comes to training, man. I tell people this all the time. You got bone mass, you got water mass, you got muscle mass, you got fat mass. If you ain't got no fat, you only got the other 3. You can't lose bone mass, and if you do, that means you got osteoporosis. That's not good.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You
That
don't want to
sounds
lose muscle,
bad, doesn't it?
Yeah, you don't want to lose muscle.
Like I can't even spell it. Like I can't even spell it. Sound bad. All that. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So water mass would be the only next option, with maybe muscle mass, depending on how bad you're trying to lose that weight. And water mass you can't rely too much on, because you got to replace it. You got to rehydrate at some point. You know, and you don't want to. You know, they say you can safely lose 10% of your body weight in water. Of course, genetics, and it varies from person to person. You know what I'm saying? So like right now, 10% of my body weight in water would be 18.5 pounds of water weight. You know what I'm saying? So I could drop that from 185, like 160 something, you know, and that's just pure water weight, where I wouldn't, you know. So people who have a very low body fat percentage and don't want to lose muscle, you only got one other option, and that's water mass. You got to have fat on your body to some extent. You need at least 5%. As an athlete, especially an explosive, high intensity athlete like fighters, like we're in there, we're in the heat, we're in the zone. So
let me tell you, hold on, DMac, before we even continue, like you don't know how many gems you just dropped within the past.
That's what he do, G5. That's what I'm talking about. That's what he do. That's what he does. That's his thing.
Listen, ideally for your fight weight, if you're walking around at 185, let's just say 180, you fighting at, I'm assuming 160 to 168 would be comfortable under any circumstances for you?
Yeah. In fact, my goal is to, once I shut off my own little fat mass and get my fat percent down from like 16% to like somewhere around 7 or 8, I intend to walk around 165, solid muscle. That way I have a little room to play with my water weight or my muscle. I could go up in weight by just putting on some more muscle real quick or drinking a lot of water, whenever I feel like doing. Or I can shed off 16.5 pounds and jump down to the 150s, you know what I'm saying?
Right. Now, you've taken on Jason Phillips, 140 pound standout from out of Iowa, Mike Patterson's fighter.
Shout out to Jay.
Yeah, big shout out to Jason Phillips.
AP.
Now, DMac, when you first met Jason Phillips as a strength and conditioning coach, what were some of the first things you was looking for from Jason to kind of evaluate where he was physically?
I pretty much look for the same thing in all people that I kind of train with. And the main thing is I look for dedication and just that grind and that commitment to show up. Just do it. Don't matter how hard or how easy it is that day. You do it. You have the patience for it. You see results. It don't matter how little you progress that day. All progression is good progression. It's still progress, you know?
Correct.
So what I was looking for in that day was
right there. That's just perfect coach. That's like Nike headline coaching right there. All progression is good progression. You know, you can get that tatted.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, the human body's going to adapt no matter what. You show up every day and it's hard. You go home, eat, you refuel. You know what I'm saying? The correct way. Even if you don't do it the correct way, you just eat something, refuel. You're going to adapt to some extent. Your muscles are going to get stronger. You're going to get faster. You get the proper rest. You know what I'm saying? You're going to adapt. They don't have a choice. Your body don't have a choice. The only way you want to adapt is if you overtrain. You put the body through too much stress too many times and don't give it a chance to recover. That's the only time you'll get weaker.
Okay. So with In your opinion, as far as Jason Phillips is concerned, because I know this was a topic for Mike and myself, if it was up to you, what weight class do you think Jason would be best at? Just in your personal opinion.
I mean, honestly, sitting around 140, I mean, that's a little strange of a weight class because, I mean, technically, someone my height and size and reach, I almost made it to 140. When I weighed in at my fight, I was 145.5. I could have shedded that off a little bit more. I would have been a little bit more irritated because I was going to half
right.
my percentage in
Shout
water.
Shout out to Cruz for the hunger pains again. Absolutely. My dog Hitman Stewart.
So, I mean, he could sit around the 130s and 140s, but the 140s I'll stray away from in the beginning of his career because you tend to get those really lengthy, the naturally slim dudes who got that reach and that speed, and they're just naturally tall. All their body weight is kind of stretched out, and it could become a problem in the sport of boxing. Not maybe necessarily power-wise, but just scoring, just scoring the shots. And it's hard. You got to work yourself in on that reach. And if you don't know if you don't understand the disadvantage and the advantage of short arm people and long arm people, you know what I'm saying, then you wouldn't be able to really deal with it. It's hard to outbox somebody with longer arms than you unless you know how to work on the inside, get your points, stay safe, get in the pocket and get out, Yeah, I mean, when it comes to long arm opponents, which is who he would be dealing with at 140, you got to understand a long arm opponent, first thing you got to check out is their footwork. Are they flat-footed? Do they stand there? When you come in and work your way on the inside, do they like to shell up and just get to a full guard and try to work on the inside with you? Or do they like to hit and move, stick and move like Muhammad Ali? He likes to bounce around, stick that jab. If you got someone who likes to bounce around a lot and move, that can be difficult. The objective would be to keep them off balance at all times. You got to keep that pressure on them. You got to keep it on them smart. It's not always about trying to be like Mike Tyson, bob and weave, and getting it on. You got to be aggressive in many different aspects. Your body language, feints, footwork, make it seem like you come in and you control the distance. You got to control the distance. You got pop in range, pop out range. You know what I'm saying? All your body language.
A good breakdown for that would be Canelo and Kovalov. Kovalov was killing Canelo with the jab, with the reach, with the movement. He was clearly outboxing Canelo, but Canelo was winning that left to the body in 3, in 6, in 8, and then all of a sudden, boom, boom.
Right.
Yep, and then that's another thing. I'm glad you mentioned that, Mike. Body shots. What people don't understand about body shots. Everybody has a headhunter. Everybody they want to, they want to have their pride and their ego step in. They want to be the knockout artist. They want to, wow the fans and be like, oh yeah, he's, have everyone fear him because they knock him out. People don't understand. Any advantage that a person has on you, whether it be speed, power, reach, height, whatever, strength, just being strong, maybe footwork, them body shots take it all away. All of it.
Absolutely.
Every single advantage a boxer can have. You faster than me, it's only going to be so long before when I tag that cord and I break your wind and your breathing pattern that everything goes wrong. Because when you get tired, everything is gone. Even a long arm opponent, you get hard to put that arm up. With long arm people, here's the thing. Okay, this is science right here. Obviously, they got longer reach. They can cover more distance, shooting that punch out. But guess what? That means they got to cover the same amount of distance, bringing that arm back, right?
Correct.
So boom, on the extension, when you slip and step in, boom, that body's exposed, and they're not gonna hardly snap their arm back and block it with their elbow. So once you start tagging them rib cages, they're gonna be too scared to throw that long jab.
Correct.
They're gonna be like, that shit hurt. You breaking them down, not just physically, you're breaking them down mentally. You took away their confidence. Body shots hurt, and don't nobody work the core like they should.
Except Hitman. Hitman kills the core.
Listen, DMac, we just did the interview with Cruz, Hitman Stewart. We probably talked about that about a half hour straight, just in terms of just body work,
core
body work. Yep. And just to show, I'm on the same page with you. Great point as far as the long arms. Floyd Mayweather is one of the best to ever do it. A lot of the reason why he was able to do the things that he was doing was because of the arm length. He had the arm length of like a middleweight. His arm length was like 72 inches, 72, 73. And to go to your point as far as the body punching and the core, A really good example I like to give people is Floyd and Zab. Floyd fought Zab Judah. Zab Judah arguably won the first 4 rounds. He won the first 4 rounds.
True.
Which is,
I can agree with that.
Yeah, almost unheard of against Floyd. And from round 5 on, you could see Floyd knew that the arm length wasn't going to be the answer in that fight. And it just goes to what you were saying. It's just like the IQ of a fighter. Floyd started walking Zab down, even though Floyd's a taller fighter, longer arms. He knew he had to get to his core. He knew he had to get to his body because
slowed Zab down. Zab had fast hands, man.
And actually, Zab's hand speed was faster than Floyd.
Oh yeah,
Floyd was quicker. Floyd's is quicker than everybody else. So when he was going to Zab's core, it got to the point to where it looked like Zab was in quicksand. And that just goes to show what you just said. Everything that you just said is just all facts. Like, it's all facts. It starts with the core, it starts with the body, and it goes from there. Now, as far as Jason is concerned, with everything you just explained, you would prefer for him to be lower than 140. Am I correct?
Absolutely. I mean, and unfortunately, man, he still got to deal with people like, later on, like, you still got people like, in those 130 range, you still got people like Tank Davis, Devin Haney, Ryan Garcia. He ever got to that level? And there's other fighters out there with the same physique, like Devin Haney. That nigga got long ass arms, and he got speed and power too. He don't just got speed; he got speed and power, and he can fight on the inside a little bit. So it'd be a typical fight if he ever fought someone of that class, or even just that body type with them same type of physical attributes, you know. But I give Jason this: Jason got some power, man. Jason can hit hard and hit hard naturally because you could tell when he's training, when he's hitting the mitts, sparring, playing around. He hit me in the gut a couple of times, just playing, just a little tap. I felt a little bit. You know what I mean?
Right. Now, Jay, so I'm assuming Jay at 135 would be ideal. 135?
130, 135. Yeah, between 130 and 140, man, just depending on where you're fighting and what their weight requirements are and whatnot. It'll be ideal. I don't know if he dropped below 130, he might lose some steam to him. It just depends, man. I'd have to get his body fat percentage. If he had some more fat to shave off, he could possibly break that line of 130 and get down there in the lower weights and have a little bit of a advantage as far as size and some power, you know.
Yeah, and that's so interesting to hear because when I talked to Mike immediately said 135. I want Jason at 135. And I asked Jason later on in the interview, because I introduced him as a 140-pounder DMac. And I asked him later on in the interview, I said, because of the pandemic and things like that, I didn't know where his weight was when I asked him this. I said, would you feel better fighting at 147 because it's less weight to shave off, this, that, and the third? He immediately said yes. So I'm like, I don't know.
Right, because it's easier.
It's easier,
That's the problem. See, that's the problem. You know, you get these fighters, you know, no mean to interrupt, but you get these fighters who talk about, man, how many times you done seen on social media, good, bad, doesn't matter what kind of fighter they are, famous or not, you see them talking about, I'm always mastering my craft, They in there shadow boxing, hitting the bag, doing mitts, whatever, sparring, highlights, whatever, right? But you'll never hear them talk about, I'm mastering my craft, and then nutrition is involved. That's part of it. You got to master your craft by taking care of the equipment. The equipment is your body, your metabolism, your fuel system. Eating the right things. You know what I'm saying? Everybody talk, I'm going to be this, I'm going to be that. I'm going to work hard. You work hard physically, but you don't work hard discipline-wise. Trying to, you know what I'm saying? You don't try to discipline yourself to eat the right things at the right times, you know.
Yeah.
And just stick to that. If you really, this is your goal, this is what you do. And this is professional level mentality. If you're going to be professional, you got to be that way, you know?
Correct.
All the way through.
100% correct. Now, with you being a fighter and a trainer, if you had it your way, would you be a famous fighter or a famous trainer? If you had to pick one.
That's a good question. I mean, you just put him on the spot.
Ideally, it's both in a time. I mean, I don't really care about fame. I'm not a people person like that. But at the same time, you know what I'm saying? I know fame brings monetary gain. You know, it's all about taking care of the family in the future. Not only that, I like to see people succeed. So when it comes to being a trainer, I don't have to be famous. I just want to be a good trainer and help people reach their goals. You know what I'm saying? Motivate. As far as fighting goes, of course, I need that money. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't mind people know that I'm that dude who's going to be one of the best. You know, it's a little late. I'm a little old. I'm 28, but it ain't too late for me. I can accomplish some things in boxing. I intend to. I ain't gonna make $300 million like Floyd, but I'd like to be a famous fighter first, and then a trainer. I would like to open up a gym when I retire and have my name out there a little bit. It helps, you know.
Absolutely. And
do I hear a business venture?
Well, absolutely. Oh yeah.
We're gonna get into that in a minute. You coming into the game basically at 28, you're going to have a lot of people probably calling your phone like, hey, listen, like 28, he hasn't had a professional fight yet. And there's going to be some kid that's 18, 19, 20 years old that's going to be like,
those prodigies.
The quote-unquote prodigies.
Prospects.
Like, oh, yeah, prospects. But like, okay, I'm going to take this dude out. And they get in the ring with you, this won't be something completely different. And then on top of that,
completely different.
And there's no, and DMac, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're going to have another advantage because there's not a lot of tape on you.
Right.
It's not a lot of tape. And you're going to have a lot of those advantages. And that's outside of the physical part. Because we know you're going to be right going into a fight. And I think the only other person that I know of that even has your background and credentials in terms of being a fighter and strength and conditioning coach is Chris Algieri. And he went on to fight Pacquiao, Ruslan Provatnikov, a lot of guys. So he's an example of someone that's a fighter, but they're a strength and conditioning coach as well. And he had success in both places. He had success as a fighter, and he's having success right now as a strength and conditioning guy. And it really resonates to what you were saying earlier, because now, like, he does conferences at colleges and things like that when it comes down to just health and the body.
That's deep.
Right. He has an invaluable skill set that'll be with him for the rest of his life. It benefits him and everyone around him. He could gain money from it. He just help people out. Something I think everybody should know, man. It's a very important aspect.
Invaluable skill set.
Yeah. Invaluable. Say it again.
Invaluable skill sets that can make money or help everybody around me. It's up to me, like Spider-Man.
Right. That's a great point, because just talking to you for this little bit of time, my brain be part boxing, part business. I'm like, DMac probably can start about 6 different businesses. Like,
you don't even know. Like, he has no idea. He's like, man, he's a genius.
Yeah, I'm like, DMac can start about 6 different LLCs, 6 different businesses, and have money coming from 8, 9 different areas, which is the pedigree of becoming a millionaire. Having money coming from multiple places.
Yeah. This is part of the reason why it was so easy for me to kind of do good when it came to my certification, because half of the stuff that I was learning I had already pretty much knew or was familiar with. And the certification is just now kind of putting it down on paper like, hey, it's legit. That's about it. Now, don't get me wrong. I learned some new stuff when it came to performance training and heart rate, you know, and intensity training, things like that. I learned some new stuff when it came to nutrition, because I wasn't really studying nutrition to that level. But even now, I still look up articles and different things. I learn from any and everybody, and I just learn about it. I mean, and this is my own curiosity, but being someone who loves to work out, loves training, loves physical things, loves martial arts, boxing, and all that, if you're someone who fights, why aren't you studying this on your own? You don't have to be told. You on Facebook and Instagram all day long, talking shit or doing whatever it is you do, looking at videos, look up something that's going to benefit you in the long run.
Right. Right. And that's
figure out what it is that your nutrition and strength and conditioning coach has been telling you. Learn the science behind it, because all they're going to do is say, hey, you about to pick up this weight this many times and run this direction this many times at this speed. Don't worry about it. Just do it. You'll get better. And that's what they do, you know.
And that's a great point. That's a really great point, because I think the pitfall that a lot of people fall into is they will sit, like a fighter will sit and listen to a strength and conditioning guy or a nutritionist, and they could just be giving out random information. The fighter may not know if it's true or not, but it sounded intelligent, so he just gonna go with it. You know what I mean? So you have to. It's almost like you have to study your craft from a nutritionist standpoint, body standpoint, just to really, for no other reason, to fact check people. People will lie to you in a heartbeat. They will lie to you.
I'm glad you set that up, G5. I'm glad you set that up. If I may chime in, there's a lot of people in this boxing industry that will do that. There are people that will pretend and pull the wool over your eyes, so to speak. But when I rock with DMac, it ain't nothing ever like that. Not even close. Like, everything he says, not only does it make sense and I trust him, but he breaks it down in so many different ways. It's just, like you said, an invaluable asset that can either make money or help everybody around him.
Yeah, and that's
true.
a good point. That's a good point, Mike, because somebody can say something and it's just, you know, it just sounds intelligent, but it takes a whole different person to actually break down what they're actually talking about, give you examples and things like that. So that's
let me add in. I'm going to go off of what G5 had mentioned with the ones who, you know, where you got to kind of fact check people. You got to basically put trust in your strength and conditioning coach, which is fine, because most people, you know, they don't question this or whatever. And you got some strength and conditioning coaches out there who really don't know much, you know what I'm saying? And they're just kind of faking it until they make it. And then you got the ones who they don't fake it till they make it. They just got experience. You know, you got a couple people who do conditioning who they don't claim to be a coach or certified. They just been in the game long enough to know what exercise is what, and they're effective, but there's not real science behind them when it comes to making weight. You got to get your numbers right. Then you got the ones who are really, really trained and skilled. But most of these coaches, no matter which one you're talking about, whether they're knowledgeable like me, experienced like the journeyman coaches who just been in the game a lot, or the fakers, they're not going to break nothing down to you. You know, they're not going to tell you why this exercise is going to help you. They're just going to say do it, and if you don't trust them, then walk. You know, for the most part.
Right. And DMac, I definitely want to get with you just in terms of some situations that we've seen in the sport of boxing, and just get your opinion on it from a strength and conditioning standpoint. Now, DMac.
Sorry, my son growling in the phone, man.
Oh, no,
that's all good, man. I can't wait for him to hear this interview in 10, 20 years. Like, I got something for you.
Yes, indeed.
Right.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, DMac, as far as a fighter coming into camp, let's just, for example, 8-week training camp, in your opinion, what is a comfortable weight cut in terms of number of pounds? And what amount do you think is too much? Because I've heard different things, and I've learned a lot just talking to you in this interview. What amount of weight do you think is a comfortable weight? What weight do you feel like is just too much for like an 8-week camp?
8-week camp, well, I'm going to use myself for an example, because when I was given this fight opportunity for Sparta Combat League, man, I was walking around like 169, 170. They gave me 6 weeks to make 147, man. So I burnt a lot of fat. I lost a little muscle, and the rest was water weight. And that's why during weigh-ins I was irritated, because everybody was drinking in front of me, and I was ready to fight right then and there. You know, then I ended up weighing in. I ended up weighing in 1.5 pounds light. So, and I still beat dude down, you know what I'm saying? So, I mean, okay, technically, you want to be realistic, not given the 8-week time frame, but in all actuality, when it comes to cutting weight, you can cut weight pretty much a wider range of what people think. It's just got to be slow enough for your body to adapt. Because obviously I've walked around real light before. I've walked around at 152 before, and here I am walking around at 185. I felt good either day, you know what I'm saying? Just different masses, you know. 8-week fight camp, I say, it depends on the mass, but at mass, you can lose any amount in any amount of time, just about, and your body adjusts pretty well as long as you don't have no fat. You can't have 0% body fat because you'll die.
That's just not happening. Yeah,
you have to have essential fat, at least 3 to 5%. Some people genetically, they're literally just ripped to shreds. They have no fat. It's like 3, 4, 5%, which is wild. But everybody wish they had that. But I say 15, 20 pounds of fat. You know, obviously muscle is not something we want to lose, but if we had to lose it, hey, you got to make that weight. When it comes to water weight, again, it's down to a percentage, and it's down to genetics. Some people can't do 10%. You know, some people can only do 8%, and they start feeling fatigued, you know. And water weight, it has to be burnt off slowly because you got to train and sweat it out, and then you got to replace a little bit of that. And then no matter how you look at it, you got to replace your electrolytes. If your electrolytes get too low, you can go into seizure. No matter how healthy you are, you can go into seizure. So, and your electrolytes are essentially your potassium, calcium, sodium, and things like that, you know. So, I would say in an 8-week fight camp, I don't know, because you got different phases, man. If you focus too much, you focus the whole 8 weeks on weight loss, you could lose 40 pounds, you know.
Fat camp.
If you did it right, it's fat camp basically. You could lose 40 pounds if you wanted to, but then you're sacrificing intensity, because when you train intensity and performance, you're not really burning fat. You're burning through carbs. You know what I mean? You're burning through carbs, you know, because you need that to perform. So you have to it's touch and go. Generally speaking, your first 3 weeks out of the 8-week camp, first 2 to 3 weeks is it's the in-between. It's getting your body metabolized. Yes. Well, not necessarily. It's hard, but the hardest week for camp is usually supposed to be the middle. Now, I don't know how people run their camp, but generally speaking, that's what I would think it would be. Knowing what I know about physical conditioning, you know, but you got to consider physical conditioning coach and then your boxing coaches, they got to kind of work in tandem, because you have a real hard, intense training day for conditioning. You might not want to go so hard for boxing. You might have a technical day for boxing. You know what I'm saying? So Monday, if you're doing hard, high-intensity interval training for an hour and a half plus some other shit, then your boxing probably going to be technical mitt work, some light bag work, obviously jump roping, and that's that, or you're going to risk overtraining. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, typically first 2 to 3 weeks is your metabolizing phase, where you're getting your body's metabolism started up and you're starting to utilize everything, getting the energy systems kind of stimulated. And then in the middle of it is when you're training your intensity and performance for the next few weeks. And then last week of fight week, or last 2 weeks, week and a half, that's when you do that like tapering, where now you're not eating as much, so you don't have as much fuel, so you're not going to be training as hard. It's more technical work, light work, not always like little light, moderate work. Try to burn off the rest of that fat, and doing it that way, which is the typical way, you can probably lose a good 15 pounds, 20 pounds safely. Again, it depends on what weight class you're talking about. Depends on what your body composition is. And by the way, body composition is pretty much all your masses and what the numbers are. You know, your fat mass, your water mass, your muscle mass, your bone mass, your actual weight, your BMI, all that stuff.
Yeah,
so
I know that was a loaded question. The reason I asked you that is because I heard someone else that was a fighter, and I remember them saying they was like 20 pounds is a good weight cut.
Oh, just from the ask, DMac said 20, right? 20 was the correct answer? Yes.
Yeah, it's close to it.
Yeah, I got it right. Yeah.
15 to 20, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because I had, it was a fighter, I think he's from California, and he was saying 20 pounds is a good weight cut. He said 25 to 30, you're pushing it. Like,
keep in mind though, But keep in mind, everybody's different, man. Some people got better metabolism. Some people metabolize things better, you know what I'm saying? And ultimately, when it comes down to it, like I said, if fighters would do it right, every fighter who wants to be a fighter should automatically get the body fat percentage down to a low percentage, anywhere between 6 to 12%. So if they're kind of ripped already. So at that point, you'd have a little more fat to lose if you want. Not if you're at 6%, but if you're at 12%, you could lose a little bit more fat if it was necessary. But then you pretty much, like if my body fat percentage is 7% and I'm walking around at my ideal weight of 165, like I said, it's going to be easy. I won't even have to work to do nothing to make weight. If I want to fight lower, shed off that water a couple days, 3-4 days of shedding water. You shed off water quick, man. 1 30-minute jump rope session at light jump rope, sweating my shit out. You can sweat out 4 pounds of water right there.
Mike, did I not tell you that?
You did say that.
I did.
Yeah, you just the water weight is quick to lose. You know, you don't want to lose it too fast though, because then you can feel fatigued, even if you're within your 10% range. If I lose 8 pounds of water weight in one single day, it's gonna fuck with me. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna fuck with me.
Yeah.
Because that means you ain't been drinking water during the exercise. You ain't been rehydrating to some extent. Yeah. And then going up in weight from there, just put on a little muscle. You know, put on a little muscle. If you come up short, drink an extra gallon of water.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. Now, random question. I had a sub ask me this, and Mike and I have talked about this several times. The trash bag suit. We've seen
we had several conversations.
Yes. I personally have seen it worn both ways. I've seen people wear the trash bag suit.
The sauna suit, basically.
Clothes. Yes, the sauna suit on top of the clothes. And I've seen people wear it underneath, and they just have the clothes over top. Which way is the correct way to actually wear the sauna suit when you're trying to lose water weight?
Okay. Well, when it comes to water weight, I mean, honestly, as long as the whole point of the suit is to trap heat and for your body to heat up, but it's not. So this is the confusion. See, okay, so let me start over real quick. Okay. So I'm going to be honest. Before I learned, this is what I learned about nutrition, how calories and certain macronutrients are burned, and how the body's metabolic system work. This is when I was learning. I used to believe that trash bag suit was stupid. I used to think it was a waste of time, retarded, because I'm like, any water weight you lose right now, especially when they're using it in the middle of like you're talking like 4 weeks out from their fight, like, nigga, why are you burning off water you're about to replace? If you don't replace it, you're going to pretty much die before you can get to the fight. You know what I mean?
Correct.
So I used to be ignorant of this knowledge, though. But the actual purpose of that sauna suit is to trap heat, but not for the sake of shedding off water. It's for the sake of thermodynamics, okay? So your body, for it to metabolize and burn fat cells, needs to be heated up to a certain temperature, higher than your core temperature. You see what I'm saying? Okay. And I didn't know that, so I started learning about this. Right. So, and the region in which your body's heated up is typically where it's going to burn the fat, because believe it or not, fat in different areas of the body is not the same fat. It's not the same type of fat cells all the time. They don't burn all the same. Typically why most people who do start losing weight, the stomach's the last thing to go. That sauna suit kind of helps, though, because that's the area in which it gets heated up, as long as the stomach and the thighs and the glutes and stuff like that. When it comes to that, as long as the heat is trapped, it doesn't matter. You have your clothes on underneath, it just means everything you sweat out is going to get absorbed. And it could be good in the sense of that your clothes will get heavy, so you have a little bit more weight to carry around, so your workout will be a little bit harder. But ultimately, as long as it traps the heat correctly in the steam, and you're increasing your body temperature, and you're trying to burn fat, but those are for days that you're trying to specifically burn fat. That's not something that you combine with a very intense day. You know what I mean? Because what are you doing? Right. You're about to shed out all that water. And let me tell you one more, what y'all call gems of knowledge. Your body gets significantly affected in your brain on performance once you've lost 2% of your body weight in water. Significantly. Just 2%. Meaning your performance goes down by a lot, and your mental performance goes down. Your mental performance suffers the most, okay? But obviously, as a fighter, if your mental performance suffers the most, your physical performance is going to suffer because you can't control your body the way you want. You can't think straight. You know what I mean? So that's just 2%.
Hold on, D-Man, let me stop you right there. That was a gem. Let me give you an example real quick, and you tell me whether I'm thinking correct or not. Floyd Mayweather, Diego Corrales. I'm pretty sure you remember that fight.
Man, who can't remember that ass whooping? That was shameful.
Floyd had about 6 knockdowns in that fight. Now, you looking back on that fight now, Diego Corrales, he was in my personal opinion, in one of the top 5 fights, action fights of all time with Jose Luis Castillo. When you see
definitely
Diego Corrales take the type of punishment that he was taking from Jose Luis Castillo in those fights, and then you watch the Floyd fight where it seemed like every time Floyd touched him, he was getting knocked down. From a strength and conditioning standpoint, do you look at that fight now and you like, something was going on with Camp as far as weight? Something wasn't taken care of correctly, because he was completely different in terms of him taking shots from Floyd versus taking shots from a Jose Luis Castillo.
Well, to be honest, when I'm looking at it, to be honest, you could possibly say that, but then when you analyze, all right, so you've seen the fight. Floyd was knocking him down with what? That left hook, right?
Yeah, he was check left hook. The lead left hook.
Okay, so I want you to pay, if you ever watch the fight again, I want you to pay close attention to his left hand when he throws the jab. He was pretty much destroying him with the lead hand.
Correct.
Mixing up the jab with the check left hooks. Okay. Normally a fighter is taught to not telegraph their jab. They don't pull it back at all, a little bit, none of that, right? You shoot it straight out from wherever the hand's positioned, and it'll land much quicker. Floyd was mixing in telegraphed and non-telegraphed jabs along with his lead left hook. Now let me explain his telegraphed jab. The way he pulled his hand back ever so slightly, subtle, was the same way he pulled his hand back for the check hook.
Correct.
So when he was mixing in them different mental cues, when he pulled that hand back, Diego did not consciously know what was coming. It could be a jab, it could be a check hook. So I believe that hydration and physicality could have played a little bit of a part in Diego Corrales' downfall in that fight, but ultimately there was a technicality with the way Floyd was punching. Diego couldn't see that punch coming. If you don't see any punch coming, I don't care what kind of chin you got. When it's landing right on the chin, you're going down. Here's some more science for you. Do you know what causes a knockout?
I can answer that. Let me get that one.
Go ahead, Mike. Go ahead.
The knockout is caused by the brain rattling in your skull. The skull stays the same, but the brain bounces around like a pinball.
Right. And why do you get knocked out? The brain shuts down to protect itself and the body. Right? It's an involuntary response. So, the neck stabilizer muscles. Okay, this is how neck strengthening kind of helps when it comes to concussive force and not being knocked to some extent. Okay, you got something called your inner ear. It's called equilibrium. All right, you got fluids in your inner ear that when you spin around, your head spins and wobbles real quick. When these fluids get stirred up, you get dazed and you get dizzy. Okay. Along with that, when your brain bounces around in the skull, if it doesn't take enough damage to go to its defensive mode and get knocked out, you'll get dazed even more, and everything will get blurry. Your vision will start to get fucked up, right? Okay, well, when you get hit directly on the chin, that's the ultimate leverage point for making your head whip. You have to have a whiplash effect for the brain to rattle around. Okay, that's why Diego Corrales was getting a bunch of flash knockdowns, because he wasn't ready for the punch. He did not see the punch coming because he didn't know if it was a jab or a left hook.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And Floyd was extremely fast left hook. Like, you can't see that motherfucker coming. And he was doubling up, tripling up on the motherfuckers, mixing in so many different jabs. He didn't know it was coming. You could see him reaching to parry the jab, but he was reaching to parry the jab, leaving the left hand exposed, or his right side exposed, and Floyd capitalized with all the left hooks. So I believe that a lot of it came from the fact that Floyd was just purely skilled and timing his left hooks the correct way where Diego couldn't be ready for him. Because if you tense up your neck and you cause less whiplash reaction, your brain will rattle a lot less, which won't cause you to get knocked down or dazed. Don't get me wrong, you still can. If a motherfucker just hit that hard, it's very, very possible. But for the most part, knockouts happen when you don't see a punch coming. So I believe that it could have been 50-50.
In between shots.
Man.
Sneaky. Roy Jones, one of my favorites, was killer at that. Right over the top. Put your hands behind the back and wow. Body shot.
So I don't know. Man. I don't know too much about the condition behind how Diego Corrales was coming into that fight. If he was really cutting weight like that. I understand that in the Luis Castillo fight, Luis Castillo hit him a lot harder. Maybe he was surviving them shots better. Mm-hmm. But he was also probably ready for them shots better. You got to understand that too.
Yeah.
You see?
Yeah.
So Floyd, he didn't see that left hook coming.
Yeah, he didn't. And the reason I asked that is because when you bring up Floyd Mayweather and Diego Corrales, people that are Floyd Mayweather haters, they'll come out and say, oh, well, Diego Corrales, he didn't have a full camp. He had to lose 30, 35 pounds, this, that, and the third. Like, that was the excuse that was given for that fight. So that's why I wanted to ask you that question.
Is that true though? Like, did he not have a full count for that fight?
Let me intervene real quick. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I'm gonna call that excuses. I'm sorry. Let me tell you something. So you remember Tyson Fury versus Wilder, bro? Right. What was Wilder's excuse? One of his excuses. Fuck the glove issue, the glove gate shit. Fuck that. Fuck all that bullshit. 40-pound walk or a short walk to the motherfucking ring. Look, I got a 40-pound vest right here sitting in my fucking feet.
Mm-hmm.
If I wanted to walk to the ring with that 40-pound vest and take it off, I'm not going to be so drained that I can't fight. That's ridiculous. That's not even a workout. That's not even a warm-up.
Right.
It's nothing. It's nonsense. So to me, it's excuses, man. You're professional. Maybe it was true, but guess what? That's part of the craft.
Yeah.
You still lost when it came to skill because
true.
You didn't do what you're supposed to do.
Mike, let me add this. I don't know if it was true or not. That was the story. It was similar to when Sugar Ray beat Duran in the second fight, and people was like, oh, well, Duran had to lose 40 pounds. He was partying, this, that, and the third. Yeah, that might have been true, but
did he have a full time, though? That was my question.
Say it again.
My question was not, did he have a full camp, or was it a short notice fight?
I highly doubt if Diego Corrales had a short camp fight for that big of a fight. Usually when a guy has a short camp, DMac, correct me if I'm wrong, if a guy has a short camp, they got called in because maybe the initial guy got injured. Something happened from a business standpoint.
Yeah, usually it's a stand-in. It's usually a stand-in issue, but
yeah, it's a stand-in issue. But I don't see Diego Corrales wasn't a stand-in guy. Like, he was one of the best in the world at that particular time.
And I mean, it doesn't matter. Right. You're supposed to be ready at all times, man. Even when obviously this is your job, it's your career, man. Like most professional fighters, they train 6 to 8 hours out of the day, on and off, maybe 2 hours, 3 times a day, some things like that. Okay, well, and you might want to take a week or 2 vacation off, but that's not going to, if anything, if you're training correctly and eating correctly, that 2-week vacation will actually increase your performance because your body has a chance to fully recover and heal.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, people think that, a few days off, you immediately start to revert back. No, that's not how the body works.
Right.
That's not how the body works. It's just not. So, as a fighter, they're in between me. See, I don't believe in the word camp. That's the thing. Camp to me is like, I understand what it is to everyone else. Is like, you got 8 to 12 weeks, anywhere in between, you know what I'm saying, to get ready for a specific fight, so you start training hard. Camp to me, for a serious fighter like Floyd never stopped training, man. There was no camp for him.
Correct.
The only thing different for him was he might change up the way he trained, certain aspects of his training during that 8-week period, but for the most part, in between fights, Floyd was training all the time. Right. You gotta love this. You gotta love working out. You gotta, like me, I'm gonna work out regardless if I got a fight coming or not. Because 1, I don't feel right not doing it. 2, it's good for your health. You can't get up and think this is like a 9 to 5 job. You got to be like, I can't wait. What we finna do in the gym today? Who I'm finna spar? What weight am I finna hit? How fast am I finna sprint? You know what I'm saying? You got to be excited for it. You should be working out every day. You should be ready at all times. You're a professional fighter. Money might come calling to you, like you said. Manager might hit you up like, well, I got a fight for you. You got 4 weeks. You ready? And the thing that should come out your mouth is, yes, not I'll get ready or I'll be ready, is yes, I'm ready. Period.
Shout out to Coach Fred on that one. Coach Fred, that's Fred 101 right there. Yeah. You're ready to fight anytime, any weight class. You don't
but not just mentally, man. I'm talking about physically ready. Like, you got to be always in the gym. Period. It's your job.
Yeah, because I think almost all fighters is mentally ready to fight because they know a bag coming. So,
well, not only that, because you're supposed to have that mentality of can't nobody beat you. You know, it's all about being the best. It's, you know, some pride and ego right there. But at the end of the day, money is a downfall of all men. Most of these fighters you see who struggle, they're rich. They millionaire. They're big box fighters. You know what I'm saying? They make millions, so their vacations are months long. If they ain't got a fight coming up, they're like, forget it. Plus, their ego plays a part. They feel like they're unstoppable. They feel like they can get ready in 8 weeks or 6 weeks notice and fight this bum or whatever, and then the bum surprise them and they're not fully ready because they wasn't staying ready at all times physically, and then they get dropped.
Now, DMac, as far as you personally fighting, you said October is a possible month for you to fight. Do you want to fight in Iowa? Does it really matter to you? What's your preference?
I mean, since I don't get to fight who I want to fight out here, I guess it don't really matter anymore. I'll fight anywhere, but I do need a good team and a good coach. That's been the biggest issue, man. While I'm 28 years old and ain't even achieved nothing yet because I can't find anywhere where I could get it started, any gym, any coach, team, whatever, you know. Even in Colorado when I was actually training a lot, they didn't really have a pro team out there. It wasn't my style. They had pros out there that was good, winning records, 10-1, whatever. But the coaches and stuff, like, it wasn't structured or organized like that. It wasn't super, super serious. The fighters were, but the gym itself wasn't, you know. And I don't have $200 to put away to a gym every month, you know what I mean? To just sit here and hope that they take me somewhere or whatever the case may be.
Right.
So, but yeah, I'll take a fight pretty much. I mean, I don't have options, man. I'm the biggest underdog. I kind of want them to make me a record builder. Put me up against somebody who you think is a prodigy, and like you said before, it's gonna be young cats thinking they can walk all over me or whatever. Inexperienced people, because I just got experience, man. I mean, the gym I come from, all I had was professionals to spar against. Just me getting in shape at this point. So I intend to rock the world, you know, be the biggest underdog, no amateur experience in the eyes of people, make me a record builder so I can beat them. Plus, at the end of the day, man, I don't believe in the way boxing is going about. I mean, yeah, I guess from a business standpoint, it's smart, but I ain't just doing this for money. I like to fight, and I like a challenge. It ain't no fun fighting someone who I can just beat up on. That's like being a bully. I want someone who thinks they can knock me out or at least try, and I completely dismantle them. Like, I only want the best to fight at this point. And at least I can say if I had 20 fights and they were all champions or prodigies, then I'm 10-10. Half of them I beat that was champions, and the other half I lost to was champions. It wasn't like I got beat by no bitch. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And excuse my language. I know it's a public interview and whatnot. But
man, this G5Jefftv, man. You can say whatever you want, man.
You know what I'm saying? But I want the challenge. I want to be proud. I want to be like, yeah, I beat this dude, and this dude was this person. You know, so I want the thrill of battle. Like, I like it. And don't get me wrong, I ain't just going to get in there and be a slugfest. I want to be happy that I beat you, that I outsmarted you, outperformed you. I want to be like, it's fighting, man. We're warriors. Like, what? I don't see why anyone else wouldn't want this. I don't want to fight nobody who don't know how to fight, period. I don't.
Right.
Whether it be an easy win or not.
If you had how would you characterize your style as a fighter? Like, if you had to compare your style to someone, who would you say?
My style
Your boxing style.
Man, I mean, let's see. That's the only got a specific one, man. I mean, I'll tell you what though. The 3 fighters I've studied the most are Mike Tyson, Floyd, and Lomachenko. I'll say coming in behind them will be like Errol Spence, Terrence Crawford, Roberto Duran. You know what I'm saying? I mean, Ali, in a sense. Only thing I like about Ali is the stick and move and be able to kind of dance and bounce while throwing a good jab. But hands down, no, I don't do the hands down. Not really. So, you know, I'm not going to do nothing showboaty or cocky like that. And if I am, it's specifically to set them up for something that I'm trying to finish them off with.
Big.
You know, I guess to me, it's war, man. Like, you look at it, it's a spectator sport. Like I told Mike's heard me say this 1,000 times, man. You step into that ring, that's the Coliseum. That's the gladiator, man. At the end of the day, if you're not taking it serious, don't do it, because your life is on the line. It's literally, you're literally a contract killer. You kill somebody in that ring, it's considered an accident. I'm pretty sure every professional, they sign a waiver right before the fight, or when they sign that contract. There's got to be a waiver in there, so if you kill someone with your hand, so long as obviously the ref didn't wave you off as a TKO, you kept punching and killing them, then yeah, you probably get convicted as a murderer. But you pretty much kill somebody. Yeah, but you pretty much kill somebody. If the ref ain't stepped in, or you knocked them out, the knockouts could be death. Right. You know, that's murder, man. That's correct. You can kill someone in the ring, and that's how I'm looking at it. When you're trying to knock me out, you're trying to kill me. There ain't no guarantee I'll wake up from that. Look what happened to Adonis Superman Stevenson. Correct. Look what happened to him, man. Correct. You know? So it's like every day you train, you should be training like your life depends on it, because it does. And I ain't talking about financially. You stepping into the fray, man.
Yeah, yeah.
So but that's what I want. That's what I like. You know, and I study some of the 3 best and then some. I mean, I try to study everyone, but there's so many different fighters, you know.
Right.
And in some people's styles, who they were famous, they were successful, but their style wasn't realistically practical. They just like, okay, Sugar Ray Leonard. That man threw hard, fast flurries. I'm not saying he wasn't a good boxer. He was a great boxer, but he pretty much won the majority of his fights by completely overwhelming his opponent with physical speed and power. So,
yeah. A lot of speed, crazy speed. Crazy speed.
Yeah. Yeah.
This nigga just threw 8 punches in 1 second.
But that's not practical against someone. That's not practical against someone who ain't scared, who's got timing, and they got power. They just gotta wait for that flurry to be over, defend themselves, stay calm, and hit you when you let your hands down. Because at the end of almost every combination, especially when you just let off energy like that, you're gonna let your hands down and relax for a split second before you start moving on your defense.
Yeah, and that's what you just explained. That was Amir Khan, Danny Garcia, all in a nutshell. Exactly what you explained. DMac, as far as you becoming professional, I know you said you're trying to find the right team, right situation as far as gym, coach, things like that. If you don't find your ideal situation, will you continue to just turn pro and just kind of just figure things out going forward?
Hell yeah. I'm almost to the point where if I got to go in there without a corner, shit, fuck it, I want to fight.
Right.
I just ain't get no water, I guess, in between rounds.
Nah, I hear you. I hear you for sure. DMac, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. I couldn't tell you how many gems you done dropped in this interview.
Like, that's exactly what he do, every single rap.
Yeah, like, it's absolutely crazy because you answered so many questions that people wanted to know, period. So it's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you. DMac, you on your social media, DMac?
Yeah. So, you know, you can always look me up on Instagram. You know, my Instagram is _training grounds. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Facebook is DMac Attack. 2 different words, DMac space attack, simple. You know what I'm saying? Snapchat. I don't know about Snapchat. I got to see what that is. It's been a while.
Okay. So, DMac, thank you so much for being on. Mike, it's always a pleasure having you on the show. And
I feel like at home every time.
Yes, indeed. And with all that being said, I hope you guys appreciated all the gems that DMac gave out. And we are out.